Welcome everybody to the meeting on the Standing Committee on Legislative Offices, and I'd like to call it to order and welcome everyone in attendance. My name is Brad Rutherford, the MLA for Leduc-Beaumont and the chair of the committee, and I'm going to ask the members and those joining the committee at the table introduce themselves for the record, and then I will ask anybody who is joining us remotely. I will begin to my right.
Roger Reed, MLA for Livingston-McLeod.
Good evening, Tracy Allard, MLA for Grand Prairie.
Good evening, Mark Smith, MLA, Drayton Valley, Devon.
Evening, Martin Long, MLA for West Yellowhead.
Evening, Lauren Dack, MLA for Edmonton-McClung.
Good evening, Joe Cece, MLA for Calgary-Buffalo.
David Shepard, MLA, Edmonton City Centre.
Rod Loyola, Edmonton Ellerslie.
Lindsay Tisher, Human Resource Services, LAO. Terry Chirkowicz, Law Clerk.
Jody Rempel, Committee Clerk.
Thank you. Now going online, MLA Rosen.
Thank you. Emily Miranda Rosen for Banff Kananaskis.
Thank you for that. Just note for the record, a substitution of Mr. Reed is substituting as Deputy Chair for Mr. Milliken. A few housekeeping items to address. Please note that your microphones are operated by Hansard. And unless we move in, camera committee proceedings are live streamed on the internet and broadcast on Alberta Assembly TV. Members participating remotely should ensure that they are prepared to speak and vote when called upon, and the video conference participants are requested whenever possible to have their cameras on when speaking, and all your cell phones and other devices should be set to silent. Moving to the draft agenda, it was distributed to all committee members. Does anyone have any changes to propose?
Mr. Chair?
Yes, you have a...
I would like to amend the agenda by including an item under other business. I would you like me to make a motion right now?
Yeah, when you're ready to do so, and then to also just record it as they go.
Because we're just dealing with the agenda?
Yeah.
So what does he want to add?
Okay. Yeah, let's just go with what you've got for wording.
So basically, a motion to call the CEO under other business to add a discussion inviting the Chief Electoral Officer to update the committee on how his office, as a result of Bill 81, is addressing the changes to the election legislation in a nutshell. And I could...
Okay.
Is there agreement to amend the agenda?
Yeah. Oh, wouldn't I just open up to the floor then on the discussion, the motion? Any other discussion to the motion as proposed by MLA Loyola?
Well, that's not the entire motion. I was just giving you the nutshell.
Yes.
That's what you asked for.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So just to be clear, right now we are just discussing the agenda and the addition of this topic to the agenda under the other business portion.
Do you want to flush that?
So we're not discussing getting into the issue itself.
I just want to make sure that it's because it's regarding Bill 81, including the changes to the sale of party memberships and how to track memberships paid for on behalf of another, processes for investigating fraudulent purchases, and guardrails that are in place to prevent unauthorized political party membership sales.
Okay. Thank you for that. Just give me one moment.
You wanted me to come?
Okay, thank you for that. And we would then still need to move to a motion to have the agenda approved as revised with the additional portion into other business. So would you like to move that motion officially?
I'd like to move that motion.
Okay, well, we'll put wording up on the screen. Would we need the date at the beginning?
Yeah, I think this is just giving, yeah, the general idea. So, because yes, it would, the full thing would be moved by member Loyola.
So, yeah, it would start out, the member Loyola has moved that the April 27, 22 meeting agenda of the Standing Committee on Legislative Offices be approved as revised with the addition under other business of inviting the CEO to present to the committee regarding Bill 81.
Or perhaps the implementation of Bill 81.
I just want to make sure we get the wording correct.
Okay, Bill 81, addressing changes to the election legislation. Like, can
Well, we're just adding like
the line,
a subject for the
Okay.
agenda, not the actual
Okay,
motion.
fantastic.
So,
for now, okay. That's fine for right now for the approval of the agenda.
recent legislation by
Finances, Disclosure and Contributions Act,
Yeah,
to election finances, disclosure and contribution act.
All right, I can do that.
and then if it passes.
Okay.
then
We're all happy.
I think that.
Very good. Member Loyola, can you just double check the wording on the screen, because that was just changed, that is the motion that you're looking to move?
To present it to the committee regarding recent amendments to. Yes. Thank you very much. Muchas gracias.
Yes, we're talking about the agenda and.
Sure.
Yes.
Okay, that motion has been moved. Any other discussion surrounding it? Emily Smith, go ahead.
Yeah, I guess if you could explain why you think we need to add this to the agenda today and what you hope to accomplish with doing that.
Well, it does have to do with the sale of memberships, as I had already included, and then process for investigating fraudulent purchases, and guardrails that are placed to prevent unauthorized political party membership sales. Just
Okay.
as a review, so that we have that information on the record from the Chief Electoral Officer, is the intent.
Okay, any other comments? MLA Allard.
I just have a procedural question to ask, and I'm not clear. So when we're approving the agenda, there is other business. Would something like this being substantive have to be advised in advance, or can we amend the agenda as presented now? I'm not.
It can be amended now. The standing order wasn't put into place that any substantive motions had to be put in prior, but I don't think that would cover off the ability of somebody to add something to other business regardless.
Gotcha,
So,
okay.
we're still going to go through this process, yes. Any other questions? Emily Shepherd.
Just to clarify again, procedural, Mr. Chair. With the category other business, is it required to make a change to the agenda to specifically state when we have something that we want to discuss under other business? Or when we arrive at other business, is it possible for a member simply to raise an issue they wish to discuss then?
Oh, that was, it would need to be approved at this stage. If you want to just add to any context to that.
I'm not sure if this is really adding context. You know, ideally, yes, it should be approved during this stage of the meeting. If something does come up organically during the meeting, the committee could agree then, you know, to address it under other business. But if, you know, a member has something, they should bring it forward now.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, so to the motion as moved by MLA Loyola. All those in favor in the room, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed in the room, please say no.
No.
And then moving online, all those in favor online, please say aye. Anyone online opposed, please say no.
No.
That motion is defeated.
Mr. Chair, could I have a recorded vote, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
I'll just ask them to raise hands when you're ready. All those in favor in the room, please raise your hands, please. MLA Dack, MLA CC, MLA Shepherd, and MLA Loyola. All those opposed in the room, please raise your hands. MLA Long, MLA Smith, MLA Allard, and MLA Reed. And then moving online, MLA Rosen, you can just state your vote for the record.
My vote is a no. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Sir, just online, if you could just remain muted, please, MLA Rosen.
I believe.
Sorry, I thought cleared that.
Mr. Chair, I believe that the vote is 5-4 to defeat the motion.
Okay, so that motion is defeated. We will still need to now approve the agenda as it was circulated. Would anybody like to move a motion to do that? MLA Allard has moved. We will put this motion up on the screen, but the wording would be that MLA Allard has moved that the April 27th, 2022 meeting agenda of the Standing Committee on Legislative Offices be approved as circulated.
We don't usually put those ones up, but.
Sure. Any other questions or comments to that? Okay. Hearing none, I will call the question. As moved by MLA Allard, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, please say no.
No.
And then going online, anyone in favor online, please say aye. And anyone online opposed, please say no. All right, that motion is carried. Thank you. Moving on to the adoption.
Sorry, Chair.
Yes, MLA Rosen.
Sorry. Sorry, Chair. I should have been a yes vote there. I was unmuted when I needed to be muted and muted when I needed to be unmuted, but I meant to cast a vote for yes there. My apologies.
I appreciate that. Moving on to the adoption of meeting minutes. As draft minutes for the previous meetings have been distributed, are there any errors or omissions to note? Hearing none, can I get a member to move the approval of the minutes? MLA Allard has moved that the minutes of the February 3rd, 2022 meeting of the Standing Committee on Legislative Offices be approved as distributed. All those in favor in the room, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone in the room opposed, please say no. And then moving online, all those in favor online, please say aye.
Aye.
And that is everybody. So that motion is carried. Moving on to agenda item 4. So next we'll be discussing the possibility of recommending the appointment of an acting ombudsman and an acting public interest commissioner. As this will likely touch on the contracts of officers of the legislature, it would be customary for the committee to move in camera along with the appropriate staff from the Legislative Assembly office for these discussions. Is anyone willing to make that motion? A few. MLA Allard caught my attention first. Has moved that the Standing Committee on Legislative Offices, along with designated staff from the Legislative Assembly office, move in camera. All those in favor of that motion in the room, please say aye. Aye. Anyone in the room opposed, please say no. And moving online, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
That motion is carried. Thank you. We'll now move in camera. Perfect. Thank you, everyone. We have now returned to the record, and I believe there are members who may wish to propose a motion. MLA Reid, we will put the first motion up, and it will be, oh, it's already there. MLA Reid, if you would like to read that motion into the record, and then we'll see if there's any discussion surrounding it.
Certainly. I move that the Standing Committee on Legislative Offices recommend to the Lieutenant Governor in Council that Peter Schurston be appointed A, as the acting ombudsman until such a time as an individual is appointed to the public position, appointed to the position of ombudsman, and B, as the acting public interest commissioner until such a time as the individual is appointed to the position of public interest commissioner.
It's a little different.
Oh,
Yeah, sorry, just read up on the screen,
sorry,
please.
apologies. Under section 7(3) of the Ombudsman Act, as the acting ombudsman until such a time as an individual is appointed to the position of ombudsman or the appointment expires in accordance with section 7(4), whichever occurs first, and B, under section 41(1) of the Public Interest Disclosure Whistleblower Protection Act, as the acting public interest commissioner until such a time as provided under section 41(3) of that act.
All right. Any discussion surrounding this motion? Hearing none, I will call the question then. As the motion moved by MLA Reid, all those in favor in the room, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone in the room opposed, please say no. And moving online, all those in favor online, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. That motion is carried. We will now move to a second motion surrounding the powers of the Ombudsman. Would anybody like to move the motion that is just coming up onto the screen now? MLA Allard, if you just want to read what's up there.
Sure. I'm happy to move, Mr. Chair, that the Standing Committee on Legislative Offices approve Peter Schurston in his capacity as acting ombudsman and for the duration of his acting appointment to exercise all powers of delegation provided to the ombudsman under Section 27 of the Ombudsman Act.
Thank you for that. Any other comments or questions to the motion? Hearing none, I will call the question on it. As the motion moved by MLA Allard, all those in favor in the room, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone in the room opposed, please say no. And moving online, all those in favor online, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. That motion is carried. And now we have a third motion, which is going to outline salary provisions, and it'll just be up on the screen here in a moment. If somebody would like to move, MLA Allard, if you want to just read what's up on the screen here in just a moment.
Sure, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm happy to move that the Standing Committee on Legislative Offices approve the payment of a salary equal to 70% of the development maximum for the senior official A range to Peter Schurston, acting ombudsman and acting public interest commissioner for the period beginning July 1st, 2022, until such time as an ombudsman and public interest commissioner is appointed.
Thank you for that. Any questions or comments surrounding that motion? Hearing none. So all those in favor of the motion as moved by MLA Allard in the room, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed in the room, please say no. And moving online, all those in favor online, please say aye.
Aye.
That motion is carried. Thank you. That concludes that agenda item. We now, does anybody have any other business to raise?
I have a question arising from all of this, if I might.
Sure.
Can you tell me what steps are being taken to appoint a permanent individual to these two positions?
So the committee has sent a letter to the government house leader requesting that a committee be struck. So that is the extent to which the committee goes in informing the government house leader what needs to be done in order to put a search committee together.
So in due course, the government house leader will ask for people to be part of that, or will he appoint people to be part of that?
It won't be appointments. He will then move a motion in the assembly to put that search committee together. Yes, go ahead.
Did the government house leader respond in any fashion to the committee's letter?
Did you receive a response?
No, Mr. Chair, we've not received a response, but we wouldn't expect to.
Any other questions? No. Okay. In agenda item 5, I'll just double check any other business to raise. Hearing none. The next meeting date will be at the call of the chair, and can I get a motion to adjourn? MLA Allard has moved that the meeting be adjourned. All those in favor in the room and online, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, please say no. That motion is carried. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you.